Hi, beautiful people. My name is Pamela. This is Pamela's Animal Tales. And today I'd like to touch on a topic that we may not necessarily have a lot of information about, but it's about the loss of a pet and preparing for the loss of a pet, um, and how to work through grief, how to prepare for it, how to prepare your animal for it, as well as yourself. And I know that this process will be different for so many different people, but my approach today is to really talk about it from the perspective of the relationship with you and the animal. Um, so I lost my heart, my my bear, just this last weekend. On I ended up burying her on Earth Day, which is so beautiful and so perfect. She was 18 years old, and we have been through so much together. She has moved across country with me 3, 4 times. She has traveled in an airplane. She's ridden in a car, like across country. She has been through so much with me, through my growth, my development, as well as her growth and development. And it's such an important part of our lives. And she's been such an amazing soul to experience this journey with me. And I got to thinking, how can I use this to help others? And recently, maybe 6 months before this, a friend of mine had uh, was in the process of losing her dog who was passing, and she wasn't quite ready to let go, but knew that it was time and wanted some assistance on how to prepare herself and her animal and some guidance through that. And once she was able to do that, the animal was able to pass peacefully and move on and heal. And she's been able to heal and been in a good space about it. So I thought this is something really valuable that I want to share with everybody. And since I'm going through it myself, um, it's so important. So first, I want to say that I was so lucky to have a cat that has been with me for 18 years. And to have those bonds and the communications and the understanding and the language that we were able to build together, it of course it's missed, but it's something very special. And so this is a video for, especially for those that know that the time is coming, no, and not necessarily surprised. But I'm hoping that some of these tips will help with those that have unexpected deaths with their loved ones, with their pets. So what I noticed with mine and my experience was, um, my cat had started to decline. She was diagnosed with kidney failure 5 years ago, and the vet had said, we're doing IVs and you have to give it to her every day, like twice a day. And I did that for quite a while, for a couple months, and she would run from me and she'd hide and she was miserable, and it was no quality of life. So I decided 5 years ago that, maybe 4 years ago, that that's not how I wanted her to experience this life. That's not the life um, that anyone should have to live if it brings misery to them. I'm not saying that that's not a valid method and that it's not helpful. It just wasn't right for us. I got really sick giving her those things. It stressed me out. I almost passed out like 3 times. And I said, that's enough. So I looked into some holistic methods and gave her some stuff for kidneys. And like I said, it worked because I got another 5 years with an amazing soul. So, but during that time, I was able to prepare myself and prepare her, that and have that dialogue. I talked to her and said, what do you want? How do you want to live? How can we make this a better place for you? Because this life is not about unnecessary suffering. That's not what I want for you. And so I believe that she made that choice to function through that kidney disease in a different way. and from a different consciousness. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that lesson and grateful to be able to listen to that and know that that was the right choice for my animal and for me and what worked for us. But in the last 6 months, she really started to decline, and we've had issues with fleas, and we've had she was unable to clean herself, and she you know 4 or 5 months ago she went blind, and it was heart-wrenching to watch her and to watch her bump into things but still be willing to climb up on higher places, and it was hard to watch, but it was also something that I realized that okay, that means that things are failing, the organs are failing, the body is failing, and I know this and I can prepare, but she also needed preparation. She didn't understand what was happening. She felt she wasn't done here. She didn't want to leave me, and so I spent a lot of time talking with her that this is, it's okay. First off, I am going to be okay, that I am being taken care of, and that her body is failing, and that is part of life. That's part of, it just can't keep up anymore, and that's okay, and that she doesn't need to hang on and suffer for me. And she needed to hear that. She needed to have that permission because her part of her life here was with me and service and healing and growth and so many valuable lessons for me as well as her. And so when those karmas are intertwined and one feels a responsibility to the other, there needs to be some sort of, oh, it's okay, some sort of permission. And I really encourage you to, if your animal is not in the greatest health and you feel that it's coming, give them permission to leave. Give them permission to leave when they're ready and in their time, and ask that that be guided by whatever you believe in, whether it's guides or animal spirits or light or universe or God or spirits or, whatever, or nothing, but ask that it still be a guided adventure for them, and that it be healing and not traumatic, and that it be peaceful. And my wish for her was peaceful passage, that she would um, just fall asleep and not wake up. And that is that is what happened. And it was, sorry, I'm getting a little teary. I haven't talked about this yet too much, and so, but it's so important to share this experience with others so that they can then help their animals and guide their animals through the process, and know that it's okay. I chose to, since my cat was no longer bathing herself, she had gone blind, and she was incontinent. And this is the incontinence and the blindness. The incontinence only happened in the last month or so. And it's really interesting relating that to what we consider geriatrics and dealing with humans and human deaths, and that kind of um, sense of responsibility and obligation, and also desire to guide and take care of and help through that process. And it's a very loving, very humbling process if you allow it to be. And so it's also very hard because it's hard to watch someone suffer like that. But I know that she was in good spirits about it, and because I talked to her about it, and I explained to her that this is the body failing, and that when it's time to allow, there will be, she can call in her guides, she can call in her spirits. She may see things, she may not. She may just be out of it and be in between. And whether that is known or unknown, it doesn't matter. If you give her permission or him permission, if you explain to them some sort of idea of an understanding of what is happening, because they need to be prepared for death as well as we do. And I think by doing that, I was able to give her a gift that she could go when she was ready. She was divinely guided. It was healing. It was healthy. She was able to, she waited to, till I went to bed so that I wouldn't be with her, but I wanted to be with her. And there was a little bit of guilt after that. And I realized I have nothing to feel guilty for. And I gave her 18 amazing years, and she gave me 18 amazing years. And I the the day of which she passed, I had bathed her so she would be clean and not smelly, and I tried to put things on her to help with the fleas, um, and I loved on her, and I groomed her, and I pet her, and I held her, and I spent time in a loving embrace, and that being from a loving intention, whether that set it over the edge or not, or just gave her that kind of sense of peace. She wasn't as itchy, so she could rest. And she did. She slept all day. And I I was afraid to disturb her. I wanted to go and, check on her and love on her, but I knew she needed to rest. And so I didn't want to wake her up out of that. And that's a choice I made, and it may have been the right one, it may not have been the right one, but I also have to forgive myself through that, because I know that the intention was good and loving. And so if you can do that for yourself, you can help yourself through this process, through this grief. Um, I had been working on preparing myself, that I knew she was going to be passing. I knew that the time was coming. There were signs. She had lost a lot of weight, and the whole back end and was kind of folding over a little bit. It looked really dark energetically. But I also knew that I was doing everything I could to help her with pain. She didn't seem to be in immense pain. It seemed to be some, but I was able to alleviate a lot of that and heal, and through the process, and letting her know that she's okay. There was an incident that came in, that where there were some energies that had come in, beings, guides, whatever, I don't know, that freaked her out. And that's what made me realize that I need to kind of prep her for what may happen. Even just to my level of consciousness, even if I don't know what happens, but knowing that in my beliefs, in my heart, in my understanding of where I'm at right now, there are certain things that I do believe, and I can share those and express those, and tapping into the joy of it, and tapping into the beauty of it, into explaining that this is a cycle. Death is not the end. It is the end of this body. It is the end of this experience. It is the end of this life, but it doesn't mean it's the end of our essence, our being, in my beliefs. And so by being able to share that with her, it allowed her to relax. It allowed her to understand and go, when she was able to accept what she believed. And so some things that I think to help prepare was, you know, allowing myself to detach that cord a little bit, to forgive myself, to allow myself to understand that this is part of my growth, my learning, not just hers, not just her highest good, not just her being, but mine. And I find that really helpful and comforting, and to know that I can help guide such an amazing light, an amazing soul into a different way, and free myself in the same process is such an amazing thing to experience. Um, she did wait till I went to sleep. I checked on her. She was alive before I went to bed, and this was on um, what would have been my grandmother's birthday, the 21st, April 21st. And that night, through the night, she passed. And it was probably shortly after I went to sleep, because when I got up that morning, she was draped across the cat bed. that I had laid her in, and the body was already stiff. And while I wish I could have been there holding her with it, it's what she wanted. It's what how she did. She wanted to spare that from me, and allowing myself to grieve, allowing myself to cry, allowing myself to just have those emotions pour out, because that's okay too. It's not only okay, it's encouraged. It's however you process, allow it, allow for it, but allow your animal to process for it as well. But by telling her that it's okay, by telling her she has permission, by explaining to her some of the processes, by explaining um, that the body gives out, I believe, and I know from my experience with her, that that was the healthiest, most loving gift I could have done for her and for myself. So, uh, some of the things I told my friend that had called me and asked me about how to prepare for that and how to understand that, she knew how to do it for herself. She knew that there's some sort of kind of almost natural distancing, but by having a conversation with your animal, by showing them, by sending them pictures in your mind of what, just they understand, they do. And by telling, for her, by telling her animal that it's not her job anymore to, she's done her job. She's fulfilled her role. She's fulfilled her contract. She's done her service. Then, and releasing her from that, there's no need to hold on, because this animal would have held on and suffered at the risk, at the willingness to be of service to my friend. And so by allowing for that, it allowed for a natural process to come through. So I'm sure there's lots of other tips. This is just what's coming to me now. If I come up with more, I'll be happy to share them if this is something you guys are interested in. Even if you're not interested in, I'm probably going to share it anyway, because I find it so important to me. And if it's important to me, then I hope it's important to some others. But also I would say also allowing for rituals. Spend time with your animal, and if that is a ritual of, lighting a candle and for yourself for the process, or, for me it was digging the grave and saying that little eulogy, those little words, and putting in a momentum, a protection thing, and a guidance from some empowered object that I had that I wanted her to be buried with, and you know expressing my beliefs even to the body that is the essence, the soul was gone. But for me, I needed that closure, and having a plan for what that is, whether it's burying or cremation or um, whatever, be prepared for that. Allow yourself to have that experience. Allow yourself to enjoy even those heart-wrenching moments, because that is something that is so valuable, to be able to say goodbye. Um, in even a in a ritual, in a way that is physical, not just mental, emotional. Um, so I'm sure I have lots more tips. That's what's coming from my heart right now. And thanks for listening. I hope you find this helpful. And may you have healing through this process if you are grieving or have lost a loved one or helping someone else that has lost a loved one.